Hi everybody, we're going to continue on with our lectures with Chapter 11 campaigns. And these are going to focus on social marketing campaigns. Um, and These are the public service announcements that you see on TV or read in some magazines. They'll have ads of billboards. Sometimes you'll see them on social media and you'll hear them on the radio. First of all, we can think of a campaign as a purposive attempt to inform or influence behaviors in large audiences within a specified time period. So these are messages that are specifically meant to bring about more information about a topic or to influence people to change their behaviors, hence the public service announcements. Campaigns in this usage are not about selling products. They are about selling behaviors or ideas. So it's social marketing. And social marketing was more or less born out of traditional advertising. It started out in the United States as the War Advertising Council during World War II, and later on the name was shortened to Ad Council. The advertisement started out as a way to get people to support the war, financially support the war through the sale of war bonds. One of the big campaigns, like I said, was to get the public to purchase war bonds. So they would record film clips that would be shown in theaters before a movie was played. And in the lecture slides, there is an example of a war bond commercial. Now, if you watch that commercial, please keep in mind this was World War II. So don't look at it through the eyes of today, because today we would consider this commercial to be extremely racist. So look at it from the point of view of World War II time period. After the war, the Ad Council stayed around, and you started to see more topics being included, like Smokey the Bear, which in the lecture slides I have a clip that's a compilation of Smokey the Bear ads through the years. Smokey the Bear, as you know, or may not know, focuses on getting people to change their behaviors when they're out in the forest to prevent forest fires. They've also done topics like United Negro College Fund, National Crime Prevention Council. And if you go to the Ad Council website, which you will need to for your homework, that's adcouncil.org, you'll see a plethora of topics that are out there today. Plus you can see some classic topics that they've done. Similar groups seeing the Ad Council's effectiveness have also begun social marketing, which is UNICEF, MAD, and Truth. MAD was one of the most popular drunk driving campaigns, in that MAD, for those of you that don't know, is Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And there were drunk driving PSAs prior to MAD being put together, but because of the emotional appeal and the breadth of coverage for MAD, they had more impact on people's decision of whether or not to drive drunk. I can remember being in high school and getting a contract for life, which came out of MAD's campaign. As with regular ads, there are barriers to how effective social marketers can be. Behavioral changes do take a long time to be realized, as we've talked about in past chapters, because you have to want to change. So sometimes that persuasive message takes a while to sink in, to encourage you to change your behavior. Social causes can be very complex, yet social advertisements, for example on TV, are usually about 30 seconds long, and sometimes they can be even shorter. Sometimes they can be 15 or 10 seconds. There's not much time to get a message across, but it's that seeing that message over and over and having it build that makes social marketing work. So does fear work? I've seen already some of your discussion boards, people are talking about fear because I asked. For some of you, fear does work, and for others it doesn't. The research shows that moderate levels of fear are very good at enacting behavioral change, but oftentimes fear campaigns aren't necessarily aimed at forcing an attitudinal or behavioral change, but rather they encourage you to look up more information. They don't scare you into suddenly stopping smoking cold turkey, but they may make you go, maybe I need to do a little more research. Maybe I need to understand better what the cigarette smoke is doing to my body. So when inducing fear, we can think of the extended parallel process model, and the goal of these campaigns is to induce enough fear that individuals might A, feel cognitive dissonance, and then B, take up our recommendations to relieve that dissonance. And cognitive dissonance is that feeling of tension when you get a message in that says don't smoke, but you smoke. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't, maybe I should quit. Maybe smoking isn't good for me. So to relieve that feeling of tension, that uncomfortable feeling, you will either go, you know what, the research is right. I should take the steps to quit smoking. Or you'll go, you know what, I know plenty of people that smoke and they've never gotten sick. So I think this is just a bunch of phooey. They don't know what they're talking about. So I'm going to keep smoking. And that relieves your tension. So to relieve that, you make those, you decide what level of information you're going to accept. Terror management theory considers mortality salience as a rather strong fear. So that basically means, do you think you will die? If you don't, then you're not going to make the changes. If you do, you're more likely to make those changes. Communication technology opens up the opportunity to talk about social issues with individuals rather than larger groups, and this is narrowcasting. So social media represents an opportunity for social marketers to customize their message for potential greater effectiveness. And how they do that is, you'll notice when you go to the adcouncil.org website, many of their campaigns use social media in some way, shape, or form. Now keep in mind, social marketing is the overall umbrella term for these campaigns because it's about a social issue. Social media is a platform with which they use to market their ideas. So they will have Facebook pages that are geared specifically to this topic. They'll have Twitter feeds geared specifically to this topic. They can customize their message to those that follow them. So if someone asks a question, it can be immediately answered, and that helps with the message. So the future of campaigns, as media becomes more interactive, so will campaigns, because that interactivity allows for change to happen a little more quickly. Two-way symmetrical public relations consider persuasion as a dialogue rather than a one-way message. So what that means is, most advertising talks at you. It gives you a message, where if you have a two-way symmetrical public relation campaign, it's a dialogue. So it's that sharing, retweeting a message, or sending a tweet saying, hey, I don't understand this, can you give me more information? Or this part of your campaign just doesn't seem to make sense, can you clarify? So you open up a dialogue. It allows for followers to provide feedback, and then the creators of the campaign to respond to that feedback. So it's engaging an audience, and that engagement can get more than just investment into the message. So overall, you want to understand the same principles for selling commercial products can be used in social marketing. A little bit of fear is an important marketing tool for encourage social change, or at least social awareness. But too much fear can actually be counterintuitive, and it can counteract what you're trying to do with your message. Interactive media such as social media provide an opportunity to dialogue with rather than shout at targets of attitudinal or behavioral change. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I hope you have a great week.